You're tuned into Inside Lowell. Inside Lowell podcast brought to you in part by Washington Savings Bank, serving the greater Lowell community for over 130 years. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. WellPoint. Unicare is now WellPoint. New name, same commitment to Massachusetts. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. Boston North Company, offering a wide variety of business solutions to help restaurant and retail clients save money. Boston North. Mahoney Oil Company, providing warmth and protection to families in Greater Lowell and Southern New Hampshire since 1925. That's Mahoney Oil. Francis E. Preventia Insurance. For auto, home, business, and life, trust the agency Greater Lowell has counted on for more than 40 years. Francis E. Preventia Insurance. GoPuff, a grocery store right at your fingertips. Use the code Lowell20 to receive $20 off your first order of $21, plus free delivery. Download the GoPuff app or visit gopuff.com today. And by the Massachusetts Pirates, bringing all the hard-hitting action and excitement of arena football to the Tsongas Center in Lowell. Get your tickets today by visiting masspiratesfootball.com. And now, time for another Inside Lowell podcast. Inside Lowell. If Lowell is your home, this is your place.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another Inside Lowell podcast. I am your host, Teddy Panos, coming to you from the WellPoint Studios here in downtown Lowell. Unicare is now WellPoint. New name, same commitment to Massachusetts. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. And we certainly thank our friends at WellPoint for helping to make this podcast possible. We thank all of our sponsors for helping to make podcasts possible, and all of Inside Lowell possible for that matter. And now I'd like to thank my special guest for this podcast. You may recognize him. He's been here once or twice before. He is the current mayor of the city of Lowell, Dan Rourke. Welcome, Mr. Mayor. I can't believe I have to talk to you so formally now.
Yeah, a lot of my friends and family still smile every time they see the term mayor next to my name. But thanks, Teddy. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to the next hour or so.
It's great to have you here, and you are kind of kicking off the resumption of our city councilor Wednesday morning interviews. Next week, we're going to chat with your vice mayor, Paul Ratayem, and then start to rotate the councilors in and out until election season. So much going on, and I really, these are exciting times for Lowell, and I'm sure it's fun for you to be in the center of it. But before we get into any of that, talk to me a little bit about being mayor. You're now 3+ months in. What's the experience been like? Is it what you expected? Is it more hectic than you thought? Easier than you thought?
Yeah, hectic is a little bit, a different word, but it's busier. It's schedule-wise, there's much more going on. But all the extra stuff, and I tell people this all the time that ask me, it's all fun. It's non-stressful. It's non-controversial. There's no big pressing issues. But to go to flag raisings and to, offer citations and key of the city, things like that, people are happy to see you, and they make the effort to attend certain, parties or whatnot. And it really is fun. People just love to have, not me, Dan Rourke, but the mayor of the city of Lowell to be present at different events. And it really is, it's a responsibility that I do take seriously, that I know others that have served take very seriously. And you're there to represent the city in many different ways. And that's been an absolute pleasure for me to do. And so far, so good.
How about the chairing the school committee meetings? Because as the mayor, you're also a member of the school committee, the 7th member. How's that experience?
Yeah, so that's different, obviously. It's a different way in being there and learning different ways of government and how things are done. It's a learning process for me and not serving on it before. But, it's a respect I have for people that have served on school committees and the superintendent and his team as well. And it is different, but there's work to be done. And I think, like the city, the school department is moving in a positive direction. And hopefully, by the time my term is up after 2 years, that trajectory going upward will remain.
It's interesting to me me that you seem to have made more motions, or at the very least more waves as a school committee member than you have on the council floor, including very early on in your tenure. I believe it was your first school committee motion pushing to kind of forego the planned job hiring process for a superintendent and just saying, hey, look, we got the guy. He's there now, Liam Skinner. Let's give him the job and kind of get down to the business.
Yeah, and so with the school committee, we had some pressing issues right away. One of them was the superintendent. We do have some negotiations also coming up for contracts going forward, and the consensus concerning Superintendent Skinner was, he's been in the system for 30 years. He's, every level of for teaching, the principal to, administrative office work, and he's shown he can do a job and do it very, very effectively. And, we made the right decision putting Liam Skinner in place as superintendent. He's very forthright. If he can get something done, he'll tell you about it. If he can't do it, he'll tell you why he can't do it, and make adjustments to see if he can get something done. But, he's been a pleasure to work with, and I look forward to him leading our system, for the next number of years.
From the outside looking in, it looks like even prior to your term as mayor, there had been a little bit more harmony between the school committee and the city side of government. They haven't always been kind of working together. It seems you have been lately. That said, every city and town that you hear of is talking about school funding and how there's crises. Town managers from Drake and Billerica and Chelmsford and Tingsboro and Westford were talking about it last week at a chamber event where Manager Golden was actually the most positive person there. But they all talked about the challenges of school funding. As we prepare to get into budget season, and it's already being done behind the scenes, do you see any potential challenges that'll kind of pit the city versus the school side?
There's no question about pitting one against the other. No, I see this city administration and this school department administration working as well together as I've ever been in my career as a city councilor or in politics. I think the connection between the two is very strong right now, working together on almost every issue. I know that the superintendent and the city manager get along very well. People that are in place on both sides, the manager's team that he has is assisting the school department. The school department's assisting with the city side with any help. So everything is going very well as far as that goes. With the budget coming up for the school side, yeah, it's legitimate. It's concern. We have less money this year to spend than we had last year. So the superintendent is tasked with presenting the budget that's fair for every school in the city, every district in the city, and we've had those discussions already, and those will continue right through till June.
I was aware of this number, but it was repeated. I believe it was by Billerica manager Cullen. He said, "Look, 80% of your school budget, and really pretty any municipal budget, is payroll related, salary related, employee related, right? Whether it's the pay, the benefits, retirements, etc. Lowell, I'm assuming, is no different. Is it naive for some people to think you can get through any kind of budget issues without dipping into the workforce and having some changes or reductions, whether it's administrative or even down below?"
Yeah, I think in Lowell, and I have paid attention to other districts that are in, I think, a lot more trouble than we are. We are not in fear of layoffs or, maybe do we not fill a few positions for a while? Yeah, I can see that happening. But as far, I've seen other neighboring cities and towns talk about actually laying off members of the school side, and it's not on our radar at all. So, can quell those concerns. But we do have a deficit that we don't have from last year, and, challenges remain that need to get balanced out in order to go forward.
A lot of these spending issues get cured by new revenue, tax revenue. Two ways to do it, right? Raise taxes on the existing homeowners and businesses, or recruit new ones. A lot of positive movement on the latter front. UMass Lowell's announcement over the last 2 weeks, where it has gotten out about East Campus, now known as the Lowell Innovation Network Corridor, Lowell INC. From your perspective, sitting up there as the chair of the council and in the mayor's seat, how excited are you about what you've seen unfurled so far?
I think it's tremendous. And I heard the number $800 million being thrown around. I think when we're all said and done, Teddy, we're going to be talking $1 billion investment in the city. It's going to be revolutionize and just change the direction of the city of Lowell. I mean, you're talking about major corporations. I mean, Draper and Wexford, like these are global companies. They're not local. They're not national. They're global, and they're bringing their technology and what they do to the city of Lowell. And they're going to bring a workforce with them. Disposable income, which everybody talks about, which everybody is very thrilled about. It really is going to be such a positive for the city, and a lot of kudos need to go out to the university and to the manager's office and to mass development and Lloyd Trahan's office and all these people. It's a great example when people work together for a common cause of what can happen, and this really has a chance to turn Lowell into a national workforce place that you want to come and live, spend your money, raise your family, and this is what it's all about. And every member of the council, we are thrilled about it. It's nothing but positive news, and going forward, it's going to happen almost overnight. The Wildlands Mills are going to be filled pretty soon with members of the Draper team, and there's just going to be an expansion over the next number of years until we have 2,000, 2,500 workers coming into the city and good high-paying jobs in areas where you need to be futuristic. You need to stay competitive with other companies, and it's a wonderful thing that's happening, and we're very happy to be part of it.
Let me talk about that 1 billion number that you kind of put in there in that answer. University says I think 780 million, but I'm going to round it up to an $800 million project. 600 million of it is the Wexford, the developer, the private investment. 200 million will be UMass Lowell's buildings, dorms, etc. When you say $1 billion, are you talking about the eventual cost increases that will come with that part? Or are you talking about what could be coming elsewhere?
I mean, we're talking also not just about those two companies, but we're talking about defense companies that may be coming to the city of Lowell as well. I mean, there's a lot of other avenues to go here. The 10 parcels that were talked about that have all had plans. This has been a 2-year process. This just didn't happen overnight, and the amount of money and work for people that are going to come here and the major players that are involved. When you go across the country, these things happen in major metropolis cities, and it's coming to Lowell, Massachusetts. And it's nothing but just tremendous value for the city and for its residents. The tax revenue is going to be extreme and nothing but in a positive way. So, maybe I'm being even more positive than normal, but I really think the investment that's going to come into the city of Lowell is really going to just lead us to a tremendous future.
Yeah, there's one guy who's more optimistic than you, and that's the city manager, Tom Golden. He sat there with UMass Lowell Chancellor Julie Chen almost 2 weeks ago now, and he didn't give specifics, but he was talking about things. He was talking about the JAM plan, the Hamilton Canal, Appleton Mills, Jackson Street, that corridor, and he was talking about MBTA and communities and the potential that all has. What can you tell? What can realistically be expected in that area, other than, let's put the Hamilton Canal District for a side? But it seemed to me he was talking about Jackson Street, Middlesex Street, and Appleton Street, not necessarily Hamilton Canal.
Yeah, you talk about, Teddy, you're going from the Lasher Park all the way down to Jackson and to the Hamilton Canal District, right? It's a huge area, and when you attract an organization like this, or the link, right? When you have something that comes out, you're going to attract other people that are going to come here now too. Oh, Lowell's doing this. How can we get in on that? How can we join in on, a strong, knowledgeable workforce that we know people are going to be there? And that's where I think maybe, my optimism comes for other companies to come in here and to realize what's going on now, and to get in on the ground floor. And I think that's what Draper is doing now, and Wexford coming in, and they are the anchors, I guess you would call it, right? It's been widely accepted as a popular, positive thing for the city, and I think that's going to continue. Just on Thursday night, 2 nights from now, or tomorrow night, I should say, we have Sal Lupoli coming in to economic subcommittee meeting to talk about his plans for the area, and again, it's more positive news of how we're going to move forward with the city of Lowell. I mean, we talk about Hamilton Canal for the past 2 decades. I was reading an old article on the internet from, I think, the 2002 City Council election, right? And one of the major issues was the Hamilton Canal redevelopment, and with 22 years later, I find he's finally starting to see some positive things that are going on.
I want to talk about Lupoli and that subcommittee meeting tomorrow night. backtrack just quickly though, whether it's Hamilton Canal or the stuff that the manager was kind of hinting about. The people have said, look, as long as the shelter's there, nothing's going to happen. We've heard talks for, and you got to go back to now when Alan 𝒂𝒍𝒑𝒏𝒕 was on the city council. That was 12, 13 years ago. There was talk about moving the shelter. Is that something that is back on the table? And if so, is it realistic? Because we've been hearing about it forever.
Yeah, again, call me an optimist, but that is definitely on the table, and I think it's something that can be done. We have.
How imminently? Are you talking about we'd like to do it, but there's no...
No, I think that there was things that we are talking about. I filed a motion last month. VenFin now is coming to the city of Lowell. The Middlesex Sheriff's Office, wants to have sort of an outpatient, inpatient / area to take care of those that are addicted, mental health services, homelessness and things like that. So you have the Sheriff's Department, and you also have VenFin coming together, and if they partner up, I think there's a spot there for the city to establish a new location for the shelter. Lowell, as everybody knows, has always gone above and beyond what has been required. We're helpful to everybody, our resources for anyone that comes to our city for the help that they do need. But I think this is a real opportunity now to get the shelter out of where it is now, because that Middlesex Street could be almost a brand new corridor to downtown. You have some businesses that are there now. Just over the past year or two, you've had 2 condos open up, new developments of housing that's over there too. Market rate, that's going very well. And again, the shelter as a building is in horrible condition. That needs to be redone as well. And I think that's a prime piece of property, to be refurbished into legitimate housing. What we do with the shelter, there are options on the table, and I'm hopeful in the future that those become for the council.
We're chatting with Lowell Mayor Dan Rourke here in the WellPoint studios, kind of re-kicking off a Wednesday morning feature. We're recording this on Wednesday, April 3rd. When you're watching it, who knows? But as we like to say, it's news and information on your schedule, not ours. We'll be continuing to talk with the incumbent councilors on a rotating basis over the next several months, if not year. But we're excited to kick it off with Mayor Dan Rourke. All right, let's talk about Hamilton Canal and the most pressing issue right now, Sal Lupoli. There's been a lot of criticism, Councilor Dakota, since he kind of came in. His very first kind of issue that he wanted to tackle is are we going to actually develop something that Sal Lupoli had promised or not? And I kind of get the sense there's some folks on the council that are saying it's time to either, I can say shit or get off the pod. This is a podcast. It's not the radio.
Fish or cut bait. How about fish or cut bait?
Okay, fish or cut bait. Has that time come, or do we need to be patient, given the fact that, look, COVID changed things, high interest rates. I know financing projects is very, very difficult nowadays. Do we still need to be patient, or is it time to fish or cut bait?
Yeah, I think the council wants and deserves answers on this. We have been a willing partner to many different, development companies or the developers in the past with Hamilton Canal alone as a standalone. And when Sal came in and he purchased the lots back, I think it was 2020, there was some guidelines and timelines put in place that, the council has every right to ask to those timelines to be made true and for the goals to be met. So coming in, it's good of him to come to the council to address where our needs, our concerns are, and to see what his plans are. Originally, I think it was a 7 to 10 story building that was going to go where that open space is now. Hopefully those plans are still in place. But again, there are, circumstances such as COVID and interest and all the others, the rates that have skyrocketed. But again, the people of the city of Lowell have, afforded a very generous tax incremental benefit to him, and we deserve to know what's going to happen with that.
There was a talk of an office building as part of the Thorndike project, and that looks like it's now gone by the wayside. There's talk of an office tower as part of Hamilton Canal. There's also been a lot of talk, look, COVID changed the need for commercial space. And we had seemed in the year or so leading up to this that we were talking about more housing as opposed to commercial development. Given what UMass Lowell just announced at Link, are we seeing any signs of interest from other commercial entities to maybe locate somewhere else in the city if they can't find a spot at Link?
I think just in general with TDI and the MBTA zoning, I think that a city such as Lowell now has the opportunity to really increase their market rate housing. And I think that nobody has an argument with market rate housing. And if that's a plan that he may have to go over there now, I don't think anybody would would argue with that. When you get into the other areas, maybe there is some concern, but when you have the ability, and there's many spots in the city now with the new rules that are in place, that market rate housing can really, and those are the people that come in. And again, we get back to the term disposable income, right? Something that I'm sure turns you on to hear.
Very
right?
much so,
As a
yeah.
downtown business owner, right? And I think that's the overwhelming thought of all that's involved with the new link idea, with that proposal, and hopefully with Thursday night when Sal comes in to speak to the city and to the city council as well. It's just, there's a lot of positives that are going on. And I commend Councilors Dakota and Janess for bringing this to the forefront. Say, hey, what's going on? Let's get some answers.
Will you, as a councilor, push for some type of business or commercial development? And I'm not talking about first floor retail, above floors housing, because look, the I in Link stands for innovation. The I in HCID stands for innovation. Housing isn't exactly innovative. To me, companies of the future, like the ones that UMass Lowell is bringing in, that's innovation. Should we hold out for some type of innovative development?
Right. Well, I think in this Link project, you do see a number of commercial entities coming in, and with those jobs that are very high salary, well paid jobs, and people need to find a place to live, and I think there's a give and take with that, as far as housing. Again, market rate housing, I have no problem with. And again, that leads to people that come in and spend money and raise their family and want to live here. With commercial, the days of going to buy a pair of sneakers or a shirt and tie somewhere, those days I think are gone, unfortunately, right? Mm-hmm. So when you talk about commercial businesses, you want to get into microelectronics and things that the Link proposal talks about. And again, in a perfect world, you'd see a 15-story building with all kinds of commercial-based companies in there, but we have to see, and I think Thursday night would be a very informative and interesting discussion to have.
Related to that is parking, and that's a discussion that you guys are having. The parking rates have been adjusted or proposed to be adjusted, but I believe last night you guys voted to you have to do
send to a public hearing,
and then in 2 weeks you're going to tackle it. Is the city able to stay in the parking business?
Yeah, so we've got an extended period of time without raising the rates. And this is something that, again, I will commend the council as a whole on. Multiple proposals have come before us. We've asked for it to be tweaked a number of times. We've had subcommittee meetings on it. We've had public discussions on it. We've included those that were most affected by it, whether it's downtown residents. And again, I think it's very commendable of the council to go over every, left, right, up and down about this issue. And I think we're finally at the point now where we're ready to have the public hearing and to pass the rates. They will increase. Not to the extent that originally proposed. The times changes a little bit different. We're going to give a break to those that are 65 and over as well. And for our downtown residents, there will be an opportunity to park. And, you come down and visit, park in the garage. It's an extra 50, 100 yards maybe, and it's much less expensive than if you wanted to park on the street. If you want the convenience of parking on Merrimack Street or Market Street or Central Street, if you want to go to your theme for dinner, and the parking lot's full, you're going to pay a little bit more, but that's the convenience of the park right there. It's actually much less to park in the garage, and I think that's what we want to do. We want to force people to go into the garages and spend some time in the city.
Those garages are hemorrhaging money, however, so this is being...
We have one that's hemorrhaging money.
Yeah, these are being done to kind of address that. Mm-hmm. Will they address the existing situation, or have they been done with the future development in mind? Because it strikes me that the garage, the newest one that's empty now, that was done on the Hamilton Canal, if that area ever gets developed, then we may be talking about another garage at some point, along with Lupoli's and the Hamilton Canal one. But are you confident that development in that area and everything planned in the future is going to make parking a business that the city should be in? Because I think the city should be in it, because if you completely turn it over to private entities, then you have no control over your rates. And your residents complaining now about rate increases, try Boston and Government Center, folks. That's all private.
$250 a month would be a cheap deal if it went all private, right? And it is an enterprise fund, as everybody knows. It should pay for itself. It has to pay for itself, but it doesn't. And that's where the city is the place that we've been in for a number of years now, where we are taking money out of other accounts to make that account whole. And that's hopefully with these rates that do go, and some of them are higher than others. But there are opportunities to still save money with your parking if you go into the garages. But as a council, we have to take in the whole city into account. And we're relying on tax dollars collected to pay for a fund that should be paying for itself. We can't operate like that.
All right. Smith Baker Center. A lot of discussion. Some people want to take a wrecking ball to it. Some want to do all they can, move heaven and earth to save it. Yoon Joo Choi was in here just the other day, head of the CBA, and they were the last entity that had kind of looked at developing it. And I asked her, have you been inside? Have you seen it? And she said when she did a few years back, it was a mess. She said there are parts of the floors you can't even walk on. They're that rotted and that decrepit. Which camp are you in? Save it or bring in Miley Cyrus with a wrecking ball to take it down?
I again, this is another issue that I'll give the council as a whole a ton of credit on. We have agreed to look at all options on the table once again. And look at the building's in terrible condition, and it's a beautiful piece of property. If a developer could come in and make the numbers work and turn it into housing, that would have happened 10 years ago. It would have happened 20 years ago. It would have happened last week. But it just doesn't work. I think where we're headed towards is probably a demolition of the building. Personally, just for me, I like to see a community center in that whole area, and maybe like a food market or something like that, or just a stage, or somebody can redevelop that whole area. But again, we're at the point now where I think that the time to decide is coming. We're going to do an engineering evaluation or study or something like that to see what the actual true problems with the building are, but they're extensive. No one's going to argue with that. I think what I think is going to end up happening is we'll probably end up demoing the building, but there's no problem in looking at it one more time to see what the issues are, to see if it is worth saving. But it's something that, again, I think that this council over the past 2.5 years has really dug in on all issues, right? And I think one of the benefits of having 11 and district councilors is everybody has their own opinion, and everybody comes from different backgrounds and areas of expertise, and different options are offered, and I think that's a good thing. And this happened once again. It was with the parking rates or with the Smith Baker Center. We're heading in the right direction, and we'll see what the best move going forward is.
I appreciate all the optimism and wanting to save a historic structure, but look, this has been a very public debate for over a decade in Lowell. It strikes me that if it was salvageable in its current condition and restored as in its past condition, that some developer would have stepped forward and said it's feasible.
Yeah,
our CBA tried and couldn't pull it off. I'm not even sure it's salvageable if you kind of tear it down and keep the facade, which some folks have talked about to try to keep some, like the Rialto building. When's the cutoff point in your mind? When do you have to?
Yeah, so I would imagine the last motion was filed, I think, a week or two ago, and it was just a structural study or whatnot, and that'll come back to us with the cost of what it would be and so forth. But I do think that and I appreciate all of the sentiments about it. All the historical value to it. But at the end of the day, money-wise, it just will not make sense. And if a terrific organization like the CBA can't make it work, no developer has offered to come in to say, hey, for $1, it's all yours. And no one has offered to do that because they don't. It's just, it's a building that's, unfortunately, destined for destruction. You're
also having this discussion about multiple meetings. Just last night at the council meeting, the courthouse came in up there on Hurd Street, right? And also that you've got the one up on Gorham Street that you're eventually gonna have to tackle. So you're talking about multiple buildings where you're now kind of asking developers to come in and try to salvage some kind of non-housing structure and make it a housing structure.
Yeah, those buildings are a little bit different. We don't own the Superior Court building. That's still under the rule of DCAM. We're looking at options of what could happen if we did take it over. And again, you don't want to be stuck with a hole that just gobbles up money just to have, right? So that's why, and we put an ad hoc subcommittee together just to talk about this property. And I think we're doing our due diligence on it, right, to see what the best use of it is, see if it is a benefit to the city, what to do with it, and if it works out, great, and if it doesn't, we tell the state it's all theirs.
I mean, the model is there. Look across the street from the courthouse, up
right.
there on Gorham Street, and there's the old St. Peter's Church, which is now housing.
Right.
Unfortunately, some of these structures you have to tear down because they weren't built for modern uses. They were built for old uses.
And honestly, tell you, developers know how to make money, right? They're in this to make some dough. And if they tell you there's no money to be made and I can't do anything with it, or this, nonprofit can't do anything with it, this company can't do anything with it, what's the city going to do? And that's what I think where we're at now with not only Smith Baker, with the district court on Hurd Street and the Superior Court on Gorham Street. But again, there's no harm in just taking that time and looking at all the options and making a decision that's well informed.
We're chatting with Lowell Mayor Dan Rourke. He's joining us here in the WellPoint studios. Unicare is now WellPoint. New name, same commitment to Massachusetts. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. All right, we've talked enough about citywide issues. You are, while you're the mayor, you're also the district representative for Pawtucketville, District 1. Let's talk about a couple of things going on in that neighborhood. The Rourke Bridge, we've found out in the last week or so. Did the state actually move up the timeline by 1 year, or was that already announced a few months ago?
Yeah, so, this has been an issue now for a number of years, as far as, when Congresswoman Lori Jahan get the money for the Rourke Bridge. I had always had 2028 on my schedule as for completion on the project. Everything seems to be following the right timeline. It's very exciting. It's another good thing for the city of Lowell. At the end of I think it's August of 2024, the design will be in place. They can get the bids out and start construction 16 months, 17 months from now, which is just very, very exciting. It's something that this council, again, these people that have been there for, this term and a past term has really taken a pro stance to get something done, and it's happening. So the
timeline that we've been talking about the last few days is still 2028, right? Okay, that's where I got confused because everyone's saying it's been sped up a year. I mean, we've put I don't want to sound like a dick, but we put a timeline out there, which you just kind of talked about, the design, and putting it out to bid, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. We've put that all out there on stories on Inside Lowell. So it is still the same timeline, 2028. It's not going to be 2027.
Correct, right. And everything, again, is going to plan. And again, another example of partnerships, right? We don't get this done without, former Governor Cawley Baker and Lori Trahan's office really just working very hard and overtime, and just think about how it's all started, right? An iron worker that lives in Centerville posted some pictures, and and a week and a half later, it's on TV, and a month after that, there's $180 million coming to the city of Lowell to get a new Rourke Bridge. So it really is a true community project that has taken over, and it's going to happen.
The much discussed inspection reports finally were made public earlier this week. The Sun actually ran them, and they've been talked about. It says the bridge isn't deficient, despite all the stories we hear about plates causing damage to cars and the fuel spill caused by a plate coming loose, allegedly. Are you confident that that bridge is still structurally sound? I think the next inspection, we're coming up on it, right? November of 2024? Yeah. Are you confident the bridge is sound?
Yeah, but it's, structurally wise, the bridge is in good shape. When you look at it, or, if you walk over it, you see the cage or things like that, that can give anybody pause, right? But the bridge itself, it is safe. It's meant to give and take a little bit. It's a suspension bridge, so there's things that may alarm people. I get it, but people should not be hesitant in going back and forth over the bridge. If you think about the alternative, if that bridge ever shut down for a week or two, holy smokes, right? So it's. I'm glad that that it was put out to get the inspection reports. They're all public record to begin with. They're all online. So the council, we knew anyway that it was structurally sound.
All right, let me play a structural engineer here, which I used to do on the radio all the time. I haven't done it in a while, but
traffic engineer too, right?
I'll tell you, I could definitely do the job of traffic engineer. I've been on it before, and I know bridges are supposed to sway a little bit. And I remember the Rourke Bridge doing that. It kind of gets you nervous for a little bit. But I did, after hearing somebody talk about a new sensation, I was on it last time, and I noticed it's a side-to-side swaying. It's not kind of that undulating thing. Are we Can we try to speed up the inspection before November, just to see if anything's changed?
I'm on the bridge multiple times a day. I can't remember swaying left to right, but I'll take your word for it.
And I swear, I felt it. And I was actually, the person who talked about it said they were going from the Pawtucketville side to the Wood Street side. I was actually kind of stopped facing Bolero.
Wait, there's no doubt about it. We need a new bridge. The traffic concerns, the emergency vehicle concerns, all that stuff is very, very real. The plates that the DOT is fixing right now, they're still doing them, which is good. When you do drive over, you notice every day there's a couple more new plates that are in there. And is the bridge perfect? No, not by any means whatsoever. Is it structurally sound? Yes, it is.
One of the other issues that was dominant out there in the neighborhood, Pawtucketville, they seem to be kind of the leading neighborhood until Belvedere joined in in the fourth quarter of the drive, was ADUs. You were a strong proponent of ADUs. That got defeated, but housing is back, and this time it's a statewide effort. The governor's plan wants to make ADUs by right in all communities, not just Lowell. There's also a number of other things, the MBTA communities thing, and kind of forcing some of these communities that are pushing back now, trying to withhold funds. What's your take on the state effort to create more housing and these kind of one-size-fits-all solutions that they're coming up with?
Right. That's the exact term I'd use, Teddy, is one-size-fits-all. I don't think that works at all, to be honest with you. I thought that the plan that the city had to put in for ADUs at the time was well thought. It was well written. I think it would have succeeded if it would have passed, but it didn't, and then that's life, right? So it is what it is. If this is passed, which, from all it's going to pass this year. I think the only restriction is you got to have at least a 5,000 square foot lot. I think that's the only one that's in place right now. And that could create a free-for-all. There's no parking requirements. There's no number of people. There's no bedroom requirements. There's nothing to that effect. And I think that's where people could really start going, holy smokes, right? I think where we had the city, we had 5 per district per year, and I was an advocate for it, and I still would thought it was a good idea. It could help a number of young families, could help those that age in place to stick around and be in their homes. But you know what? Hey, that's life, and it didn't pass, and we move on, and we'll see what happens with the state. Law that comes in is the bill, because there's a lot of money there for cities and towns. It's a $4 billion bill, and it'd be tough for a state representative to vote it down, knowing that a lot of that money is penciled for the local towns and communities.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, if there is an effort to stop it, and I'm sure the neighborhood activists all around the city and the state will kick in these efforts. But as we're seeing out in Milford, I believe, or Milton, where the governor is now going to be punitive about it, there's a lot of money that comes with it. So could you see yourself being part of any effort to try to derail at least that part of the housing bill?
So we've already accepted our MBTA zoning. So we're not, I think Milton did what they did. They denied their plan. Right. And I think that's what got them jammed up and got them in court. The bill overall is a very good bill. There's a lot of money that's going to be coming to cities and towns, especially one like Lowell that needs it desperately. And again, that's the tough part about being in a state delegation. They have to weigh the good with the bad, and if they could find a way to make some amendments to it, fantastic. And if not, they have to vote on it. It's their job, not mine.
I want to wrap it up by talking about a pet project of yours that you've been working on, since 2018, when the high school decision was made, and that is the renovation of Cawley Stadium. It appears that we're closer now than ever before. Have we got the funding ready, lined up, or is the plan made out to complete the entire project, or is it kind of just like the early phases?
Yeah, so we've been the closest we've ever been to this, and you got to really tip your cap to Matt LaLasher and his group, the Lowell Athletics Foundation Association. They have just done Activities Foundation. They have done tremendous work on this, raised millions of dollars. And again, it's been a partnership with the city of Lowell, Congressman Lloyd Johan's office, the state delegations have all come through with money for this. And, and Cawley Stadium, it's in Belvedere, and I hear all that, but it really is the city's athletic complex, right? And there's going to be practice fields. There's going to be turf. There's going to be a field house. There's going to be, weight rooms and new locker rooms and new bathrooms and walking areas. It's a tremendous plan that's in place, and the amount of money that has been accrued by this foundation and through Matt is astounding. And there's going to be RFPs that are going to be put out very, very soon for the gym that's going to be put out there and stuff like that. And it's wildly exciting. And another positive thing that's going on in the city of Lowell. We're in a position now today. I don't think the city has been for, I don't know, the last 20, 30 years when Wang was coming here, right? That's why I compare where we are right now to where the city was when Wang Industry decided to come. It's a very exciting time, and I think the trajectory of the city of Lowell is shooting straight.
Yeah, I share your optimism. You mentioned the Cawley Stadium isn't just the neighborhoods; it's the city's athletic facility. In many ways, it was at least if not the state's, it was the region's athletic facility. I remember calling a lot of high school playoff games, even that Lowell wasn't playing in there. That seems to kind of have dropped off lately. Is that because of the condition of the facilities up there? And is this part of the plan, is to bring state tournament games to the baseball fields?
Yeah, they've already talked about hosting statewide events and tournaments and things like that in the future. I know just this Memorial Day weekend with the baseball and softball leagues, they're hosting a New England tri-state tournament that's going to come to the city of Lowell. It's going to bring, hundreds of people to the city, and that's again the hard work of volunteers that want to make Lowell a better place. And I think that you see that across the board in all avenues and all aspects of the city of Lowell. Is we are really a city that's going straight up.
All right, you said we'll see what we have to talk about over the next hour. True to fashion, as you run those city council meetings, they end in less than an hour. Generally, we got this done in about 40 minutes. So anything you want to add, anything that the folks of Lowell or Pawtucketville should be on the lookout for from things that you're going to be pushing?
I would just say just stay involved. Keep reaching out. I think this is the most interactive council that we've ever had. The districts do comply with that. You have a group of people that all share the same vision of to make Lowell what it is, right? It's the greatest place to live and to work and to raise your family. And we've done nothing but do those things and make those adjustments and those details come into effect. And I think you're seeing that right now. You're seeing it in real time. You're seeing it in what's happening and what's been being done throughout the city. And it's going to continue for in the future.
All right. Hopefully we didn't jinx it with all the positivity.
Yeah,
far cry from our radio.
And tomorrow, right? Yeah.
Lowell Mayor Dan Rourke, thank you for joining us.
Appreciate
keep up the good work and keep those meetings nice and short.
We'll do.
All right. Thank you to Mayor Rourke, and thank all of you for joining us here on another Inside Lowell podcast. As we like to say, Inside Lowell. If Lowell is your home, this is your place. Till next time, stay safe, everybody.